English and Mizo. Because I'm sure that to be able to study in such a reputed school, all of you are very familiar with English, and plus you guys are the YouTube generation. Okay, so I'll be mixing English and Mizo. So I request you to kindly bear with me, and in case if you have any questions, and don't hesitate to raise your hand and ask me a question. Haka, I encourage you to ask us questions, because if I can't answer, then my colleagues here, they can always answer your questions. Oh, and then I request you to so you have to pay good attention, okay? So our program today is on the importance of paying tax and the ease of tax compliance. Now, who is he? He is Mr. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. What did he say? He said, nothing can be said to be certain except debt and taxes. So what is tax? Basically, tax originated from the word taxation, which means an estimate, okay? It is a means by which a government or a taxing authority imposes or levies a tax on whom? On its citizens and business and activities. Now, coming to India, there are two types of taxes. Direct tax and indirect tax. Two categories rather, not types of taxes. Direct tax and indirect tax. What is a direct tax? Direct tax, so as the very name suggests, it's a tax which is imposed directly on the taxpayer, that is on the individual, and it's required to be paid to the government by the individual. In such a tax, the burden cannot be passed from one to the other. Now, what are examples of direct tax? So, income tax, corporate tax, etc. Now, what is indirect tax? An indirect tax is basically a tax which is levied on the goods and services rendered by the taxpayer. Direct tax is unloaded. So here you can shift the burden from one to the other. Pen in its finished form in Bhutani. It has to be produced, right? So on the production you have to pay a tax. Now on its sale again you pay a tax. You're shifting from one to the other. Indirect tax it's on the individual. David okay, David, I can listen to so David, David, income tax among any the big man. In case of this, the thing is that indirect tax are the David Atangin, so give me an example. Okay, now what are examples of indirect tax and these one? GST in Chitomayan. Inge Lampungle. Goods and service tax. So it is one of the examples of indirect tax. Oh, now coming to the brief background of tax. Coming to the world, India's civilization, tax were in the form of tokens, seals, miniature tablets. Ancient times of Egypt, Greek, Roman, Chinese, it was a tax, or the it was a tax for the government. And Inca, three parts of crop, that is one part for the government, one for the priests, and one for the people. That was a form of taxation during those times. Now coming to India, Manusmriti it says, excessive taxation. Taxation in war to Suditani Intinal, King advised Manuhan advised tax rate is saru to close say up I wrote to Mizong had and yet Mizong had tax base to Maha tax all over India to Manusmriti Atwan. Masi Kautilya's Artha Shastra, Kautilya's Artha Shastra Betu Atwan, equity and justice ka focus and Artha Shastra Betu Atwanin. And they knew what it Atwani, tax cut, higher taxes cut they say, so and they also but they can just to win so that equity is maintained, okay? Okay, good. Maurya dynasty, the peasants were freed of taxes and crop collections from regional rulers were collected and a common taxation was formulated. Gupta dynasty, Kalpita, Prataya and Bhog. Various forms of tax, basically these were sales tax, toll tax and king's share of produce. During the Mughal period, a careful survey of crop yields and prices cultivated for a 10-year period was carried out, and on the basis of this tax was fixed on each crop in cash. Now, tax can impose on H1. Well, there are many reasons. Master, these are the three major points. The first one is to provide basic facilities for every citizen of the country. Any basic facility in H1, healthcare, water, electricity, roads, education system. For instance, nang money school the pohi, it's all through taxpayers' money. No, tax to finance multiple governments, all the local government of the state, for instance, village panchayats, block panchayats, and municipal corporations, they receive funds from the State Finance Commission. And thirdly, to ensure protection of life and property. Now, this particularly will be relevant in case of, let's just say, war. Because the thing is that the taxpayers receive protection of life and wealth from the government in the event of a war-like situation. So these are basically the main reasons why tax is imposed. Now, this is the latest survey where the estimated sector-wise expenditure in India is mentioned. The top three sectors are Medicare, Social Security, and National Defense. Okay. Now coming to our topic today. What is income tax? Income tax is basically a tax which is imposed by the government on income earned by the individual. In that, Sharani Khan income Khan, Sharani Khan Thil Khan Dorkai Lomitang se, Ting Zalo Hang Tang se, that is an expenditure. So I'm coming to expenditure Tang Khan, Ting Zasum Hilo Mulet Ta se, Kating Zasum Nika, Sharani income and Deklo. Why? Because you will minus her gross income 120 minus her expenditure of 100 and she's left with a balance of how much? Excellent. So 20 is her income, Sharon's income, and on that she will have to pay tax. That is basically a simplified definition of income tax. Now there are different types of income tax. Please pay attention, I'll be asking you a question on this. TDS. TDS is short for tax deduction at source. TDS, advanced tax, self-assessment tax, and regular assessment tax. Okay. Now, income tax in modern India was first introduced by British India's first finance member. Who was he? He was James Wilson. Please remember James Wilson. It was in the year 1860. And for what purpose? To recover expenses which were incurred in tackling the Sepoy Mutiny. What Sepoy Mutiny? History students in revolt of 1857 mutiny had expenses and so recovered to income tax and introduced in 1860 by James Wilson. Now, income tax performance of income tax over the years. Income Tax Act 1922 can follow Tina. Tuna can follow Income Tax Act 1961. We are following the Income Tax Act 1961 in India. In the first year of its collection, it was only rupees 30 lakhs. But in the recently concluded financial year of 2021-22, it has gone up to rupees 14.10 lakh crore. More. So, can someone tell me what is financial year? In period near financial year. Excellent. 1st April 2021 to 31st March 2022. Income tax free. The net collection was rupees 14.10 lakh crore. Okay. Now, compared to the previous financial year 2020-2021, which was the COVID year, there is again increase in collection of so a growth to 49% in. So in collection in income tax, again there are different types of income tax, TDS, self-assessment tax, advanced tax. So once here collection 14.10 lakh crore, so atam zoki TDS at again. So again again 49% growth and data warehousing, data mining, artificial business intelligence can contribute to me. And do like and so again internet manglo omdolo shimshimpa. So wangson hengzara again technology again income tax collection for him more. Now, it's in a direct tax, the indirect tax. So financial year 2021-2022 direct tax over the previous financial year of 2020-2021 49% increase in it. So indirect tax rate in comparison to the previous financial year of 2020-2021, it has grown by 20%. Okay. Now about the income tax department, the organization and its family. What is the vision and mission of our department? Well, our vision is to partner in the nation building process through progressive tax policy, efficient and effective administration, and improved voluntary compliance. Okay. Now, what is the department's mission? Our mission is to formulate progressive tax policies, make compliance easy, enforce tax laws with fairness, deliver quality service, and continuously upgrade skills and build a professional and motivated workforce. Okay. Now, this is the Central Board of Direct Taxes. Short, we call it CBDT. It is the highest authority for the income tax department. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question later, so remember, the highest authority for the income tax department is the Central Board of Direct Taxes, which is headquartered at New Delhi, and it's located at the North Block Ministry of Finance. Now coming to the department, income tax department is one of the departments under the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. Department of Revenue, Department of Income Tax Department, it is one of the departments which is under the Ministry of Finance, Department of Revenue. Like I said earlier, the CBDT or the Central Board of Direct Taxes is the highest authority of the Income Tax Department, headed by chairman and 6 members. India is divided into 18 regions for income tax. The types of tax collected, TDS, advanced tax, self-assessment tax, and regular tax. Tax simple way to meet government's expenditure for the welfare of people. What is the importance of income tax? Because income tax provides fund for expenditure to be incurred by the government. Okay, and also it helps to reduce social imbalance and inequity. Now, from whom is such income tax collected? Me is also income tax he can collect more. It is collected from people earning income above a certain monetary limit. Example, 2,50,000 this financial year 2020-2023 2,50,000 per year, which is calculated after allowing some deductions. And why? Less than 2,50,000 so income tax and pay okay. So what is the process of filing income tax return? In Shadeli, we done to Nasat Inkim he online with also bouncer and Madi for input all in the shads out so in inventing shim so and a pan he can ship again. So the thing is pan he basically it's a income tax department in Pera, Masikat outsource a pan Siam to Takitsuanin. Pan he can so pan he is a full form for permanent account number. And what is it? It's a 10-digit alphanumeric number, which is the identification number for a taxpayer. Okay. Now, income tax return is all filed online, and if it is voluntarily filed, it will be done within the due date. If the income is above taxable limit, example, 2,50,000, 2,50,000. In case of senior citizens, so 60 and above, 3 lakh. And super senior citizens, so 80 years and above, 5 lakhs. Okay. So I must say, hey, income tax share so it's human nature. So income tax can pay the paid one and low and hotel or some paid one. So, to pay the line that we are left with only so much for we can't the loan in the 2 pounds when the tax paid low for me. I'm married to them to be like I think how good all because we get this one in and department here because of technology and modern technology in so from various sources we receive information about income earned and transactions made by people. Therefore, if return is not filed voluntarily, but the income tax department has information, then in such a scenario, we send notice to the taxpayers. Okay? So therefore, it is a duty and obligation of every person of the country to pay tax and file income tax return within the specified due date if he or she has income above the taxable limit. Now the question can arise is, in the income tax law here, how can I comply with income tax law here? So you have to ask, in kim also to online to kan kay mani office la tak tak ada in lo to khera ngai to from the comfort of your home in a time nuam the internet connection in days, even from your mobile phone, you can easily file your return online, or you can take a in kim all some to katinani. So I'm a road so kathiam lo income tax is shall be paid so I'm mizo kam tak again so na kabula relation so kabova kan dita kashi thiam lo dita katya share thiam lo te confusion de nei so ani an official website at the time visit here or customer care center ko kan dia so it's na swayam khan icon seva intro at the time you can seek guidance, and all this guidance is totally free of cost. Okay, it is heavily dependent on the government of India. So, India ram tax collection ki claim chuan Mizoram hi nasa takinam hongani chanchu consume na hi central government hi anitani. Which are the main sources of revenue for Mizoram? Two, tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Okay, amai also tax revenue and non-tax revenue because Mizoram main source ni masi amai also za mun za china mun som kwa hi don't hit tax revenue to local needs. So it goes to show that the finances and development of the Mizoram is a direct function of circumstances at the center. Therefore, its financial robustness is hence more so vulnerable under the present circumstances, which is COVID. COVID wakhan financially 2021 India tax collection ka antiam halu to gani mo so wang chuanin kami kha Mizoram ko khana sa tariang ahongani. So next slide I can explain on ya. Now this is the blue is basically the tax revenue and the red is non-tax. Inche thamne na so wang chuanin Mizoram sarkar enge kal to chuanin tax revenue hi apoi mo lutu dinari so tax revenue ko hi state I can non-tax tax and non-tax revenue over the central tax and grants and aid over need. So in the 3 years kala financially 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21. In Pupayang, any state own tax and non-tax revenue so in total revenue receipts are here financially 18, 19 in Ula, for example, 86.98% of central a balance 15.02%. No, the balance 14.02% is only from the state. Also, that is the importance of tax. I'd like to quote our Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Zoram Thanga, who, after presenting the budget in financial year 2020-2021, had told a leading national daily that I want you to be aware of the financial crisis faced by the state government. Though we have passed annual budget amounting to crores of rupees, the outbreak of COVID-19 has greatly reduced the quantum of revenue collection at the central government, which has greatly affected our state share of taxes. So, central government tax collection claim Mizoram tan ko financial crisis along the remote meaning. So this is the level of importance of tax. Now, what is the significance of tax for Mizoram? So basically, financial year 2020-2021 revenue tax collection has central claim of Mizoram share ko claim lo pay lo ani more. So financial year Mizoram share Bible is sankat sanga kana claim phata Bible is sankat sanga claim pha awang khanin Mizoram tana development projects state atana share atang khan eng ma again projects khan execute so this clearly indicates that the importance of taxes and its role, particularly for Mizoram economy, cannot be ignored. Now I'm coming to the close of my presentation. Now these are pictures of what income tax has contributed towards nation building. As you can see, this is the longest bridge in India. These are basically arteries if it was not for the taxpayers' money, all this could not have been possible. Of course, schools, for instance, or like I said, even your school for that matter, government medical colleges, hospitals, and these are the various schemes. Now, all these schemes could be launched because of the taxpayers' money, because of the tax collection. Okay. Now, with this, I come to the end of my presentation today. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. These two roads. Oh, what is the full form of ban? Good, correct, correct. Price pangato book siya last one for this row. Okay. Ali, for all of you, okay? Okay. What is the full form of TDS?
Memento presentation kan denga pi larin kui convener samagra dong turi kan soma pilinte te alam turi kan soma cho đây lồng xây ra để kan măng kan măng Kalaya, ni hun bilo boy kui sabtu firin kui te le abo kui te zong zong chunga long thu kan sum boka ten nami stu do ong te nakina zoram shwai tu tu te le kisan lo ni tu te le zoram dikham ni tu tu te in the vai no kan te bang gen long thu kan sai chunga participant zong zong chunga long thu kan saya lo mangka in zawai pe kan du nuarin kan du thing tlem kan hawa ma le kan ya kan an chat yang ta nga ti chuan hei green tea ahun chep tak ka ro hela yan ani ni siloma postinga amara chutuna yan study living awama additional commissioner will come to study online là yang chỉ có sang rồi, tiêu đóng research thì nó mà ai rồi là biết, chúng tôi thì cũng chưa đặt ra là biết, cũng chưa được mà chúng tôi thấy là chúng tôi có lòng cũng phải sửa, nên staff thế xin trả ra chăng ông quay lại nguồn con như vậy xin trả ra chăng rồi cái là thì cho anh thì cũng lòng mong tại căn phòng kia chúng tôi có lòng trong căn sửa.
sorry. Okay.
Quando